Hi, Peter. Thank you for joining our podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
So today we are talking about our book challenge from the PMO community, which is the rise of PMO project management office and the evolution of the role of the project manager, which we propose to be a chief project officer. And Peter is one of our book contributor who wrote a chapter about the community. So let's talk about your ideas and actually why you decided to contribute to our book, except that I pin you just out of blue and asking, Peter, would you like to contribute to our book? So let me ask you the first question, which is about the evolution of project management. So the question itself is, Peter, can you share the moment or insight that sparked your interest in the evolution of a project management office or a PMO and led you to the concept of the chief project officer? And what was it that caught your attention?
I got involved to PMOs and PMO related activities back in 2019 on a kind of global level, or let's say on from my perspective, on a more conscious level. I realized that I did project management related activities previously as well during my career. Just these were not apostrophed as PMO functions or PMO activities, but these were activities in relation to project management. So in the last 5 years, I jumped into the PMO communities and PMO related activities. And regarding project management itself, I am basically a project manager since university. And regarding the book challenge, it is really, and for me, it is a really interesting topic, unfolding the history of project management. Because if we check what the PMI says about project management and the awareness regarding project management, they are stating and they are saying that the project management itself started to rise in the recent decades. And many people think that project management didn't exist in the 19th century. It just came at the beginning of the 20th century or even after the Second World War. It depends who you ask. But if we check the kind of definition of the project management nowadays, what usually people accept as a kind of definition for project management, it is an intentional action which results an outcome. It is a very high-level definition. Previously, many organizations used many other kind of definitions. Nowadays, we reach this very holistic approach of project management. And if you take this definition, then we can see that basically, based on your understanding, you can understand it like that everything is basically a project. So in this sense, if I am thinking about the history of project management and when it emerged, I would say it is dated back to the prehistoric age. So, for example, when a tribe, a hunting party, went to hunt I don't know, a rhino or a mammoth, it is a project because it was an intentional action of that group to get food, and the outcome was that it was successful or unsuccessful. So in this sense, that was a project. And that hunting party usually, or I assume, had a leader, which was a project manager. They needed to manage the resources, the resource allocation, the schedule of it, everything, how to reach the scope, what kind of actions should be taken, what is basically the work breakdown structure of the project to get that food to the tribe. And this is again based on the understanding, at least from my point of view, that everything is relative. So we could see it as, okay, it was not a project, it was a hunting party. And every kind of profession might have this kind of prejudice of individuals, and these prejudices based on their understanding of the profession. And that's why I think that project management emerged in the last few decades, because the understanding and the point of view changed in the last few decades, mostly, I think, because of the globalization, because the development of the technology, and in this new era, new type of businesses, new type of business activities came up. Businesses needed to act more rapidly. Their actions were more focused on a specific outcome within a specific time frame. And because these were needed to be done fast, efficiently, effectively, that's why project management as itself started to develop, started to be developed, started to grow. And well, that's where we are currently with this recovered and with this fast-paced environment and everything around us. The PMI call it project economy. I can agree somehow with this definition, that currently we are living in a project economy, that everything is needed to be done in small chunks. We cannot do business as with a repetitive way for the entirety, and yeah, so for the infinity, because our world is really changing, and that's why project management is needed more and more, and businesses are recognizing it more and more. And now we reached the point where this awareness, this recognition got to a point when there are chief project officers within the companies who are dealing with projects, with project-related initiatives, functions, things like that, and they are on a level of the executive board, because it is needed currently in this type of economy.
I totally agree. If we talk about when the Gantt chart was created for some time after the Second World War, and the project manager title was created about the time, so that's when we count that project manager raised to the world, or do we dig deeper into centuries and look at the Hunting project or Egyptian the pyramids, which is also a huge project. How would we decide how tall the pyramid should be, and how to attach all of the stones and how many people, etc.? And then people kept building like houses and bridges and infrastructure somehow. So all of these we can call projects, and definitely we needed someone who could manage them. But I totally agree that last few decades, projects became more and more complex. So definitely we needed an official title as a project manager. And now with the complexity and moving from operational work to product and project mindset, we need a chief project officer at the table. But your book and your chapter of this book is about community. So could you tell me about community influence? From your perspective, Peter, how have professional communities not just nurtured, but also elevated the project management profession in the eyes of the broader business world?
So if we check these professional communities, I would go back in history again. Like, professional communities are there for centuries in certain professions. As far as I remember, they called guilds in some sources, or in many sources. We might remember or history studies about the medieval times when guilds emerged and they were protecting their profession. They set standards and they set the price as well. And these standards were mostly quality standards, but they set up some kind of knowledge building activities as well. So if somebody, a young person, wanted to be in that profession, those professional community taught them the profession, taught them how to do things, what are the required quality standards that they set for themselves. And these kind of communities, as I mentioned, had effect. And since then, they are still having effect on quality standards within the profession, the pricing and things like that of the outcome or of the product or service of that profession as well. But these communities have the force to form the environmental expectation towards the profession. Let me give you an example. In Canada, there is the CPA designation for financial accountants. Nowadays, the community, the financial accounting community, reached a point where to make an audit in companies, a CPA designation is needed. So only certain people on a certain level of knowledge, which is aligned with the quality standards set by the community, they can do that profession. And this influence towards the society, this can help the understanding of that profession from the outside. And not only the understanding, but this helps to tailor the expectations towards that profession, which is usually from the profession perspective, is that we would like to be seen better, more, and valued. So if the community sets higher expectation for their members, and this higher expectation is communicated outside, then the society will reach that they will see those expectations as well, and they will see that value that profession can give, and they will align with these developing expectations. So the profession can grow if its professional community supports itself. This happened with the project management as well. For example, with PMI, APM in the UK, IAPM, and so on. So that's how I see that communities can generate additional value. Within the community, if you are only a sole professional, you are only yourself. And it is like if you try to negotiate for yourself or brand yourself as, for example, an entrepreneur, it can be successful as well, but only for your peers and the peers of your peers. But if there is a community, if there are more than one person, then it will multiply.
Thank you, Peter, especially the phrase, it will multiply it. I will write it down. Even today, I have an example from my workplace. We are switching to a new technology, and we needed to have training for all of the employees. So I've done the training, but it still wasn't that clear to me how to do the switch. Because when you watch the video, it's fine. When you start doing it actively, it's another project. But my colleague already done it to himself, and he gathered 5 of us, and it took him just 5 minutes to show what we need to know about this new technology to start working on. Definitely, I will need more time to comprehend it myself, but at least for a start, how to log in, how to set up the initial pages, etc. It took him just 5 minutes to explain. And one person explained to 5 people, so these 5 people also able to use the technology, and then 5 of us are going to teach another 5 or 10 people. So by the end of the day, everybody will be aware how to use this new technology. If you are just on your own, imagine the time you spend watching videos, then trying to do yourselves, and something doesn't work. Then you need to Google the video or YouTube or whatever, and somebody else already did it and provided their tips. And then their tips don't work for your specific situation. You Google something else. So it will take you a day to understand how it works, or maybe even longer. And then imagine the other person having other troubles and also do it on your own. And in nowadays, when the world is so speedy, speed is actually something that will differentiate you on the world market. And community definitely provide you the tremendous support. And even talking about this technology, you might not even know that this new technology exists until you come to the community and somebody will raise the issue. Hey, I'm using this one. Have you tried it? And I never heard about this. Okay, now I know. So yeah, definitely. Thank you for this topic and for this chapter, Peter. And the last question to you, since we were talking about the past, we touched present a little bit, so let's end up with future. So future predictions. Looking ahead based on the trends and patterns you've observed, what are your predictions for the future trajectory of project management, and how do you see the role of the chief project officer evolving?
Definitely, it's really trending nowadays. So it can be expected that it will be a great kind of designation, career path, and from the profession itself, so from the project managers and PMO professionals' point of view, it is a kind of hot topic, and it will grow. So we can see some predictions regarding how many project managers will be needed in 3 years or 5 years. A hint: we will need really many project managers in the near future. But it is my kind of expectations that, as I mentioned previously, that everything is relative, and everything should be understood from the current point of view, or at least in business and in the economy, that we are now and what we can do with the current situation. So as economy is changing, it will change in the future for sure. And it might need other type of professions, other type of aspects, other type of mindsets. So I would assume that it might disappear in a few decades, maybe in a few centuries. I don't know when, but as things are constantly changing, I would expect that it won't remain there for the entirety. It will disappear sometime in the future. Maybe it will be, I mean, the project management itself will be part of everybody's everyday life. Well, currently it is, but unconsciously. So it will be consciously included in everything. That's why we won't need it. For example, it happened with the writing. 1,000 years ago, only some people could write, or only some people could read. Currently, the majority of the population can read and write. There are no professions who are only writing, who are only copying some codexes to papers, and or who are only reading aloud to I don't know, to the king or to the leader, because they can read themselves. I can imagine that this will happen with project management, because this is the project management itself is such a kind of important aspect of everyday life, especially if we get back to, again, to the definition of project, that it is a kind of action which will have an outcome that it can be understood and interpreted in many, many ways, in every type of activities, in every kind of business. Currently, it is really needed even on a high level as a chief project officer. But I think that it will be included in our everyday life, everyday business, and in our education on every level.
Professional integration, like if we talk about IT, in 90s, IT, it was like a separate field. Nowadays, IT integrated to all of the fields we're having right now. Like if we're talking about banking, like in 90s, the bank was a separate field, IT was a separate field. Now, if we talk about banking system, we have an IT department in the organization. If we are talking about engineering, electricity, there is an IT department there. If we are talking about medical industry, they have their own IT department. So IT is not a separate industry anymore, it's integrated in the other industries. So your prediction is kind of something similar is going to happen with the project management profession.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you very much, Peter, for this insightful conversation and for your chapter. I am looking forward for this book to be published, and hope to see you in our future events, like on site and in person. So thank you again. Have a great Friday.
Thank you very much.